Going to be telling us the game of rugby. And of course, for those that do not know about rugby, it's a sport, and of course it is played by 15 members, the 15 team members, and of course those that are scattered around are called backs, they are quarterbacks. So definitely it's a game that needs a lot of energy. You have to be eating, you have to have your body up in the gym working. It's not for the weak. This sport is not for the weak, as you can see right there. Huge bodies right there, vigorous. And of course today, and of course the Hippos play in the top Uganda National League, and of course Ginger Hippo Rugby Club is based in Ginger City, at the source of River Nile. That is where the water, we are the ones, that is where we are the ones that Ginger is the source, so it distributes to all of Egypt, all of Africa. And of course their home playground is Dan Waters Rugby. And of course, right now, I'm going to be joined by Serikali William, and we're going to be discussing rugby. How rugby is a sport, how much we are getting in rugby as a sport. You know, if we have sponsors, I must take it in most schools. That is one of the sports that some schools are really invested in much. You see Chitende, you see schools like really, okay, most of the traditional schools do rugby. So right about now, we're going to get into this interview and also have a feel of what it feels like to be with the one and only General Secretary of Ginger Hippos. Good morning, William.
Good morning. How are you? How are you, viewers? And thanks for having me.
Good. Of course, we are really proud and happy to have a representative. I can really see that you've played rugby. I can see the body really. It's a real definition of a rugby player. How do you do it? First of all, what does it take? First of all, I want to know, what does it take for a person to be a rugby player? Can I do it? Can I do the sport? Or it needs someone with a big body who has been in the gym?
No. Everybody. Rugby is a sport that welcomes people of all sizes, shapes. The 15s you're referring to has, yes, the big body, whom we call the props, the forwards. And then we have those who are a bit smaller and faster, who are the backs. So everybody is welcome to rugby. Everybody can play rugby.
Thank you for that remarkable report right there. So anyway, anytime I think I'll be joining in that team, because definitely I am fast. I can walk fast, so I believe I can run that fast. So I want to know how the sport is progressing in Uganda. Do we have enough teams that can really, have we actually qualified for any championships, for any qualifiers recently or over the years?
As a country, we are the champions in Africa for rugby sevens. We are the reigning champions as we speak. And in September, I forget the date, but in a week or two, we are going to play in Zimbabwe to defend that title. So yes, as Uganda, we've performed very well over the years. Even in 15s, we've gone to France, moved. We are in Africa, actually, we are thrice the champions of Africa. So as a sport, Uganda has done so well. We have many clubs so far in every region in Uganda. The ladies teams are also doing so well. So I'd like to say that a couple of years, I think rugby should be the second sport after football in popularity.
Interesting right there. And actually I was thinking to myself in my mind, I'm like, rugby is one of, when you go to rugby playground right here, people do go and watch that sport really. The sport is really interesting. The fight, I don't know if they're called fighting or fighting for the ball, whatever it is. But then I want to ask, what are the strategies that you have put in place for managing and investing in your rugby income in terms of community development? What are those strategies?
Basically, whatever we get, we invest in the youth. We invest in schools. We invest in rugby, the youth. We go around. That's what we're doing to grow the grassroots rugby. And eventually, we have enough number of players playing, involved in the game. Rugby is still amateur, so we don't get a lot of money coming in, but they've to grow the development at the grassroots.
Government has really come out and, given in an initiative to, facilitate you in terms of equipment or requirements, or maybe, you source out for yourself. Do you source out yourself, or maybe you have help from government entities, maybe the Ministry of Sports?
Yes, there's support from the government. It comes through the National Council of Sports, then to the union body, which the unions contact us as different clubs in the different regions. It's not sufficient, but we appreciate the government. We also have other sponsors who sponsor the game from the national level, and the biggest sponsor, or the only sponsor I could say at that level right now, is Nile Special. They've done so much to fund, to market the game, to give, to support individual players, to support individual clubs as well. So yes, we do get some support, although we shall appreciate more, because like I said, it's an amateur sport. It's growing, and we see ourselves as a bigger sport in the near future.
Okay, that's quite interesting right there. Now special. If you see by the people consuming a lot of alcohol, that means some little money goes to those guys, really. So it's like an initiative that once you buy a bottle, you've contributed 500 shillings for them. So definitely, but don't consume a lot. But anyway, I want to know, how do you brand yourselves? Do you use social media? How is this? I know it's growing. It's growing after soccer, then rugby. I know it's growing, and most people, a few people know about the sport. So how are you branding yourself so that maybe a youth out there could, really invest it as their career as a sport?
Yes, we are building our brand through a strong online presence, especially the usual YouTube, online, our website, and even social media. We engage our fans. We create really visual appealing content that represents especially the club's identity, our values, what we intend to do, the players we take through school, how we're helping them to nurture them to become better men and better ladies of the country. So yes, we have an online presence which is strong and is growing.
I must say online actually is the way to go. If you want to build your brand, you can use different social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, so that people get to know the beauty about rugby. Really, I've watched movies for rugby. Sometimes I go to the playground there, and of course, Chadondo. That is where you be at mostly. Yeah. And so it's a good sport, really. But I want to know, just in case there are injuries, in case someone gets an injury, are you insured? Is there a possibility that someone can, have facilitation in terms of health?
Yes. Unfortunately, in Uganda, it's quite expensive to secure insurance, but we have efforts, we have partners we work with. In Ginger here, we have a very good friend and partner, that is Handback Health, provided us with medical, with physio, with first aid. And in case someone gets an injury which is very serious, we have stakeholders that come in, especially the funds. The club does have some money, but the union sometimes comes in, the Uganda Union, especially when a player is, the injury is severe. So we get stakeholders who come in and help. But we just want to thank, especially because our game, injuries do come, but we want to just thank Handback Health, because it's really expensive to cover medical, these players, but they have helped a lot. And we've not had serious injuries in a very long time. No one has been abandoned. All players are catered for, no matter what.
So looking at the community engagement, so have you done any engagement or maybe charity work, within the community, so that maybe to enhance your public image in Ginger, or maybe even across Africa, or maybe in Uganda itself?
Yes, we have. Like I'd mentioned earlier, we involve ourselves with schools, with both primary, secondary, but also we have universities we approach. Also do charity events as litter picking. We work with certain NGOs to give out sanitary pads. We work with we partner with different friends to give out free food to people who need it the most, especially in certain times of the year. So yes, we go out there and we have efforts to enhance our public image as a team, and we're committed to make a difference.
Thank you. Of course, now looking at rugby, let's give it 5 years. Where do you see rugby as a sport in Uganda 5 years to come, even in terms of finances, in terms of exposure? How do you see it in 5 years? Do you think we shall be there? Do you think we shall top football? I know football is the #1 sport, but then rugby comes in #2 in Uganda. So for the 5 years, where do you see rugby as a sport?
Well, to answer that best, I look at the past 5 years where we were. We didn't have rugby on TV. We didn't have opportunities to speak to Smart 24 TV. We didn't have so much. We didn't have the exposure. We didn't have so many fans. We didn't have sponsors. Where we are now, and the 5 years I can tell, is that we shall just grow deeper. We shall have maybe more exposure on media. We shall have more fans coming to games. We shall have more clubs growing up in different regions, different districts of the country. We shall have more performance, therefore. So we'd expect Uganda to perform better at African stage, at the world stage, competing in both 15s. We would see ladies join more clubs from ladies coming in. We would see more sponsors coming in to support, because they will have seen the presence of the fans, the presence of potential that the sport can bring to us. And like I said, well, there are some sports apart from football that are competing with rugby, but in fact, be much way better.
Of course, this is just away from rugby. Of course, we are in the bid for AFCON as Uganda. So I want to know your view. Do you think Uganda is really ready to host AFCON? Just.
AFCON is a big stage. East African countries. I think we can pull it off, especially whatever you determine you go out to do, you can achieve. I could relate AFCON with Africa Rugby Champions, which was hosted in Uganda. Your rugby did it. I think football can do the same.
Oh my God, it was really a pleasure having the General Secretary of Ginger Hippos, and that, of course, that is the rugby team. And of course, we wish you all the very best as you're going in for those championships in Zimbabwe. I hope you bring back the title. We are praying really, and trust me, Chadondo is not far from us. It usually you usually go there to play, and we really support your games. We love your energy. You give us emotions. We go shouting, but definitely thank you for the good work. Thank you very much for being a part of this very interview. That was, of course, Serikali. Any last remarks to your fans, to your team?
Yes, to the players and management of Ginger Hippos, thank you all for what you've done. The rugby year has come to an end. We are now in the off-season. Keep fit. Look out for more sponsors. Look out for more fans. Keep active. To Smart TV and every viewer that's out there, thank you for the opportunity. Look out for rugby. The World Cup is beginning tomorrow evening. Please get to your TVs. Come to Chadondo. Every rugby space you have, use it. They are friendly people. We'll have fun.
Thank you for being a part of course, this very interview. And we hope that we shall have you back here with the title representing us. Trust me, the pleasure will be upon us. Of course, that was Serikali William, and of course, that is the General Secretary of Ginger Hippos writing us, giving us an insight on how rugby is performing. And of course, we are going to be going into Zimbabwe for these championships. We are holding the title, guys. Go for rugby over the weekend. There are usually competitions there, the Hippos and the clubs. And for ladies, like he told you, it's not for the big guys. It's also, you know, you can go there with, you can see some men that are not that so masculine. So please, you just have to fight. I don't know what it's called, the ball and whatever. So definitely that is a sport for you right there. Yes, of course, that is what we managed to bring you today for the sports business. And today we're talking rugby. So definitely keep the candle burning and, of course, keep us engaged on what is going to happen in the World Cup Championships that are coming up next week. Well, of course, that brings us to the end of this segment. And of course, but before we go, don't forget that the markets on Zabo are already open. They opened at 8:15 a.m. and of course, they intend to close at 3:15 p.m. So, powered by Altex East Africa, you can reach Zabo if you dial *29# and follow the procedures or prompts. And of course, you can invest in government bonds and securities as low as 15,000 again shillings. That is the lowest amount you can go for. Definitely, you can go for even more and millions of money. So definitely, from Monday to Friday, that is when the markets are open. That is when you can invest. So, except for public holidays, which I don't think this month we have. And of course, weekends is a no-go zone area for Zabo. And of course, Zabo says, my money, my future. And Altex East Africa says, do something new. And of course, you know, today we're talking about how to grow a business, how to start up a business, the process of, you know, setting up a business, what is required to do a business. So coming up is going to be an insight on, you know, to give us more information on what it takes for you to thrive in these challenging times, what it takes for you to live up to 20 years and more in doing business, you know, and you can be one of the recognized business owners within Uganda and of course across. So we want to dive deeper into that conversation, and of course Andrew Barija is going to be taking us through that segment. But before that, we're going for a short commercial break. We shall be back with that insight.
Smart 24, driving business.